Welcome to Terry TV once again. I'm Terry Levine, and I actually am going to introduce a very, very special guest. You want to sit up and pay attention. Approximately a year ago, I had the pleasure and the honor of meeting this woman. And you know how there's just some people that you meet and like instantaneously they get your heart? I fell in love with this woman. I didn't know her story. I didn't know her story at all. And then I had the opportunity to sit down with her one evening, which I will never forget. I get goosebumps and chills just thinking about it. I really got to hear her story, and it so resonated. And at this point, I'm really proud to call her a friend. She's an amazing expert, and her story is going to really, really change your thinking. And that's why I asked her to come here. So, her name is Suzy. She is a stroke survivor. And I want you to really pay attention to this because she's a stroke survivor who literally did not let that stop her at all. I'm going to let her tell her story. But she actually figured out a way to take her success to the very next level and to actually use what happened to her and her story to help other business owners, to get confidence, to get strength, and then to have the kind of determination that Suzy's had to make extraordinary businesses and to be able to give what it is you want to give, live your life to the fullest, and be who you're meant to be, and really live your calling. Suzy, I am so honored to have you here.
I am so thankful. And that night, I think about that night and that time together all the time. You were in my phone. You are my other half.
I remember. It was such a special thing. And I know as our viewers are looking at this saying, come on, you've all had an opportunity or an experience where all of a sudden you connected with someone and it's like that's a soulmate, that's someone you're destined to meet on the journey. Well, that's what happened. And Suzy, your story is remarkable. So I think let's start there. Why don't you tell us what happened, your background, and go into a little bit for us.
Absolutely. So on September 25th of 2010, I suffered from a stroke. I had had hemiplegic migraine since I was 5. And so half of my body would be paralyzed and I wasn't able to speak. And so that's what happened on the 25th. And so we thought that it was the same. I would just sleep for about 2 days and then I would be fine. And this time I wasn't. So I was in a sales position going into that. I worked about 100 hours a week and I had a few different jobs. And so with that, I was taking some energy shots. I was getting about 4 hours of sleep a night and just not listening to my body. And so my body stopped. And then I went into, when I was in the hospital, I had the mindset of a newborn baby. So literally I could feel everything going on, but I wasn't able to speak and I wasn't able to communicate. All I could do was to smile, to wink, and to take pictures. And so my family was there throughout the whole thing. They spent 3.5 months with me where they didn't leave me alone for 24 hours a day. And so with that, just being able to take what I had learned in sales about how to not give up and how to know what was mine and fight for what was mine, I was able to use that in the stroke. And somehow, I don't know where this came from, but I heard that when you try something 6 times, you typically get it on the 7th. That's what I did with the stroke, is I had it in my mind. I would practice people's names all day long because I knew that I would come back. So, so I think that was just going from a salesperson thinking that I had it all together and that I was superwoman and I could do it all and ignoring my body and then it stopping on me completely changed my life.
Just sharing the story, it has to change everyone's life. It has to wake us up and get us inspired. And, I really want the audience to imagine all of a sudden you're basically an infant and you do have to relearn everything.
Yes.
You can either be determined and say, I'm going to do this and practice names like you did and be surrounded by an amazing family. Or some people give up the fight. They really give up the fight. So I love what you bring. I love that you're so transparent and vulnerable and willing to share that lesson. And I want to just say something to the audience for a moment. And, things happen synchronistically. Just maybe 2 hours ago, one of my clients contacted me. She's been having some illness. And she is literally fighting against her body. Her body's telling her, don't eat certain foods. It's not making you feel good. And she's doing it anyway. And she said, well, I guess I'm just going to go down this path till I don't. And I said, till you don't, it could be till you all of a sudden just die, fall apart, get a horrible illness or disease. And she woke up a little bit from that. And I hope that that's enough of a wake-up call. We all get little things every day. And I think Suzy's story is going to wake you up. So, thank you for that. So inspiring. So I hear people talk all the time about, sales and sell. And we've talked with some other guests on the show about the word sell. It's not that nasty four-letter word, but tell us a little bit about what does sales mean to you? What do you like about it? What is that in your world?
So sales to me, I figured out when I was pretty young that I loved providing for people. So if somebody had, say they were going to a dance and they needed their hair done, I was the first to raise my hand and say, I'll do it, or they needed their makeup done or anything like that where I could help out. Or when someone had a problem, I loved bringing the solution. And to me, sales is just providing a solution to a need. And that's it.
I'm going to repeat that. Providing a solution to a need. That's brilliant. Keep going. Sorry to interrupt.
No, that's okay. And when you don't know someone's need, how do you know if you have the solution? So that's the part that sales is not pushy. Sales is not defensive. Sales is not emotional. So meaning that when someone says no to me, I don't take offense because they're just not my people or I'm not their people. But here's the thing is that with sales, if I'm not your solution, let's be friends.
Oh, I love that.
Facebook totally offers that. Now we can be connected and we can be friends. And if I am the solution to your need, then I'm going to work to earn your business. It's not I'm going to get your business. I will work to earn it.
So those are great words. Work to earn your business. And I also love the no attachment to the outcome, surrender the outcome. Maybe we're not meant to work together, you're not meant to buy from me. And that's totally cool. And I love the openness, entrepreneurness of, well, let's keep the conversation going. Let's keep open. Let's be friends. Let's still communicate. It's fascinating to me because, I talk a lot about authenticity. If I turn somebody down and I don't buy something from them, there's two types. There's the person who gets really offended, like wants nothing to do with me, and shuts me out. And there's the person who just gets that it wasn't the right time, it wasn't the right product or service, and stays with me on the journey. And it's fascinating. There's a gal, her name is Renee. I bought some stuff from her years ago. And then she changed businesses and went into something else. And she offered me that product. And it has certain ingredients in it that I just do not eat. It doesn't exist in my world. And I said, oh, that doesn't resonate. And she just totally got it. She was like, cool, I just wanted you to know what I was doing. Perfect.
Yeah.
Absolutely perfect, right?
Absolutely.
Good, good, good. So this is what it's about. It's about figuring out, do you have a need? Can I help? If I can, let me offer it to you. And if you want it, awesome. And we can start that relationship. If you don't want it, just as awesome, and we can have a friendship, correct?
Absolutely. That either way is amazing. That no matter how the connection is made or what connection is made, if it's connection that I have what you need, amazing. If it's a connection that I just have an amazing person in my life that I didn't before, awesome. And here's the thing, when defensiveness comes in or pushiness comes in or that emotion, when you take it personally, then what you're doing is you're shutting the door to any future referral. So maybe I don't have a need for that, but say my sister does or my best friend does. If you get defensive and pushy with me, or if I get defensive and pushy, then that referral is not going to exist.
very true. Very true. I tell a story about when I was in the art business a long, long time ago. And I would show people art, and I could overcome every objection. I had learned them all, right? I would just wear you down. You'd say, oh, I don't want this because, and I go, that's no problem because, and finally, people get worn down and they would buy. And they'd be unhappy, and they'd have buyer's remorse and just be really unhappy with me. I don't blame them. And they certainly wouldn't refer and say to their friends, have an art show. And the day that I left that all behind, I said, that's ridiculous. I'm not doing this anymore. And I just showed people art and said, what do you think? What do you like it? Do you like the way I laid it out? It's up to you, whatever you want to do. I've shared this before, I've sold double the amount of art, which was like incredulous. I felt great. People had one show after the night, people doing 5 and 6 shows in a year, referring 5 and 6, 8, 10, 12 people to have art shows. And my business grew exponentially. So I love what you're sharing here. Thank you. Thank you.
Absolutely.
So I do have a question, and I want to kind of tie in your background and your stroke. And just for the audience, I, in a previous life, as I like to call it, I was a speech language pathologist, and I actually specialized not only in working with stroke patients, but actually working with young stroke patients. And day to day, I could see the struggle and the fight and the determination that it takes. It's not just family and friends and great therapists helping. It's actually, who is this patient? What are they made of? How do you bring all of that into your business, and how can that be a lesson for our audience?
Yeah, I remember when I first heard that in a past life you had done that, and I still almost just started bawling right now, just to know that different things are set up in our lives for a reason. And I believe that with us, and also with the training, with the sales training that I'm able to do, is to bring that, to get to the depth of who you are. So to start with who you are, because in all of the healing from the stroke, I didn't realize that I was doing it, but I was rebuilding myself. So I didn't know if I was fully coming back, and my parents didn't know if I was fully coming back, but being able to reach for those things that made sense, so learning my name. And my family tells stories that when I was in the hospital, the doctors thought that I was fine at one point because I was just repeating. I could say it, but I had no clue what I was saying.
Right.
And so they're like, yeah, she's all right. Wanted to send me home, and no, I wasn't yet. But being able to grasp that, to know there was something inside that told me, you have to fight. You have to do this. And I didn't have insurance at the time. So I didn't have a speech pathologist. I had friends who were nurses. And so they brought things over to my family to help me. I had a speech pathologist friend who helped out, but there was nothing medical that happened. It was literally my family investing, and just that inside drive that I wasn't going to give up. And actually, I'm just reminded of this, that there was one day where I was going to give up. And I was silent the whole entire day, and I prayed and just meditated and was like, okay, I can't, because for my family, I knew that they wouldn't be okay. And so I literally was silent all day long and fought in myself for them. And so from that day on, the next day, the morning when I woke up, I didn't have the same feeling. And I remember I was laying on a couch. I woke up and I thought, why don't I have that feeling? And I've never felt it again. And from that point on, I fought like crazy to get exponentially better.
So we're talking about, right, health and wellness, and at the same time, there's business owners that can go both ways, right? Yeah. Sometimes business can be a little tough, whether you're a startup or you've been at it for a while, and then all of a sudden you can go, that's just it. I'm giving up. This isn't working, or I'm going to get a job, or I'm not doing this anymore. And the people who have that click of determination and keep going, Zig Ziglar is one of my first mentors, tells a story about priming the pump. And in the story, there's two guys that come across the pump. They're thirsty. They haven't had water. They've been walking for days. And they start pumping and pumping and pumping, and nothing comes out of the well. And they're pumping and pumping, nothing comes out. And one of the guys says, it's not working. Forget it. Let's just give it up. And the other guy said, I'm just going to pump a little bit more. He continues to pump, and here comes the water because it needed to be primed just a little bit more. And he could have walked away, right? So how does that relate to determination in business? What do you want to say about that?
So that you never know when the next step is going to be your big break for that moment, because there's always, every step you take, there's always something to learn from it. And I have a story about this. One day I was meeting up, I was going to a speaking seminar, and that morning I just woke up and I'm like, oh, I've got a headache. Maybe I'll stay home and I won't go. And so I looked at Brian, my fiance, and I was like, maybe I'll just stay. And it was a new group that I was involved in. He's like, Suzy, you can't make a bad impression. I'm like, okay, I'll go. So I went and actually got to make a lot of great connections and connected with the person that was speaking and putting it on. He was the president of a company. And I ended up going up to him. I had this inkling to go up to him and to ask him, just to talk to him and thank him for being there. And he actually asked me if I had written a book, because I told him a bit of my story. And that's how my book came about, was he asked me. So if I would have stayed home, if I would have stayed in that place, then I could have missed out on an amazing opportunity. And again, I mean, there are so many, I went through 6 months of depression. A few years ago, about 2.5 years ago, 6 months of depression, and I would work for 10 hours. So this is at the beginning of Stroke to Success. I would work for 10 hours for one company, doing sales and management for them. And then I would come home and the couch was my spot. I literally did nothing but sit on the couch. And Brian came to me one day and he said, babe, he said, you've either got to get a 9-to-5 job, or you've got to get this off the ground. You have to work this. You are worth more. You are better than this. And I can't live the rest of my life like this. So it wasn't an ultimatum. It was that you are too good. So either settle for the 9-to-5 or get your butt in gear. And so I went and I applied for different places, because I'm like, well, I can't lose him, Right. So I applied for different places. It did not feel right. And I said to myself, I'm giving this one last shot. I'm putting every single thing of myself into it. And then within 3 months, I had my clients that there was a list long. I mean, my business blew up after, but I had to get to that point where I said, okay, I'm putting everything into it. So in business, I would say you cannot give up until it's everything and more. And all of the people around you too, just those connections, being able to put that out there. Because if he wouldn't have said that to me, I may still be on the couch.
It's true. It's really true. So really, everybody, I'm serious. Like, breathe those words in. No matter where you are in your business is cyclical. It can be a roller coaster. We've all had like, oh no. So just take that in and just take note of it and understand that it's perseverance, it's determination, right? Consistency. So I love your book, Stroke to Success. Will you just take a couple of minutes to tell the audience about your book? Because it's so important, I think, that business owners read your book.
Yeah. Stroke to Success is about the parallels between healing from a stroke and sales. And so I honestly don't know if I would have healed as well had I not learned everything before the book. Before the stroke. I honestly, when I think about it, there were things that I learned in sales and going door to door and being told no 100 times over you know, in picking up the phone and being a telemarketer and having toilets flushed in my ear. You know, I mean, different things like that. There's one chapter in the book, and it's actually my dad's favorite chapter, where I was going face to face. And for sales, I worked for a title company, and I was calling on loan officers and real estate agents. And so one woman, I went in there. Okay, here's the thing, a tip that I'm going to give you is that when you go face to face, or when you are talking to somebody, whether it's through social media or messenger or email, face to face, whatever it is, offer something of value. And Terry, I know that you love this. And so as an account executive, I would walk in. So first, I made our folder pretty because it had to look good. Second, I had branded candy jars.
Oh, I love it.
Who is going to turn down candy?
We all want candy.
But they're not going to turn down candy.
Right.
And so, it's called 7 times to 12 times in the book. And so I went in and I met this woman, this loan officer, and I said, "Hey, I'm Suzy Winston, and I would love to get to know you first and earn your business." So that's what I said over and over again.
Oh, yeah.
Suzy Wig said I would give the candy. I'm like, "I just brought candy just to bless your day. You know, just to make sure that your day was good. You know, is it okay if I stop by next week to refill it?"
Oh, wow.
Of course it is. Who does that? And then guess what? I would show up next week. And so I told her my intention, that I would love to get to know you and earn your business. So she looks at me and she said, "Good luck," when she heard "earn my business."
Uh-huh.
And so I took that and I stood there and kind of smiled, and she said, "I've been with the same title company for 9 years, so good luck." I was like, "Okay, I'll come back next week. Is that okay?" If I would have gotten emotional, I mean, I felt like crying.
Sure.
But if I would have gotten emotional and I would have let that stop me, she actually turned into my biggest client. She
Wow.
was about 85 to 90% of the business of the title company.
Wow.
Plus, I got to go to Australia for a month and still make money because she was still closing loans.
That's awesome.
And
That's awesome.
here's the entrepreneur part of it too, is that I'm now the godmother to her 2 kids.
Oh my goodness, that is a phenomenal story. That's a great story. You know, I love that you're transparent and upfront. I'm going to earn your business. I don't know anybody who talked about coming back to refill the candy. They'd go in and they'd bring candy. This is such a great approach, and the fact that you didn't get emotional about it, you weren't attached to the outcome. Oh, there's a lot of lessons in that story. I mean, a lot of lessons in that story. I'm curious. Why are you so incredibly transparent and open and willing to share your story? A lot of people aren't.
Man, I've wondered that myself. So I've had family members that have had transplants, and they never talk about it. And a part of me wondered, am I abusing this? You know, because there can be that confusion, or that you know, should I say this? Should I not say this? And I'm just a person that I always give TMI. I always give too much information. And I'm inquisitive. I want to know things. And since I was young, I wanted to know people on a different level. So that's what I feel like I bring to the table, is that I'm going to get to the depth of you. Like, one of the first questions that I ask anybody that I meet is, what are your favorite 3 things about yourself? Because we don't think about ourselves.
We don't, and most people don't engage us in a conversation about us, and particularly salespeople.
Yes.
Start talking about their stuff, their product, their service, and it's not about us. You're making it about us, and the way you come, how you come across and who you are, is clearly authentic, transparent, and integrity. The fact you have an inquisitive mind works great as a business owner, but works phenomenal as a salesperson. You're coming from a place of curiosity and genuineness.
Yes.
Hey, if we're going to start a relationship, forget about buying. We're in a relationship. I want to get to know you. I love your question. You ask it once more so people can really get it.
Yeah. So I ask people, so no matter what it is, even strangers, I'll ask strangers this because it throws people off. what are your favorite 3 things about yourself?
That's awesome. What are your favorite 3 things about yourself? Well, let me tell you, I have so many favorite things about Suzy that I could actually just go on forever. However, we do need to conclude. I want to make sure that the listeners and the viewers remember that we have just great gifts with every one of my amazing guests. Suzy, you put a gift here. You're just open-hearted and sharing and amazing, and I highly recommend people get to know you and connect with you. And any quick final word that you want to say as we're closing out the segment? Any quick final words you want to add, Suzy?
Yes, sorry, you froze for a minute. So
It's okay. Sometimes the internet plays games with us.
yes. I just want to say thank you, Terry, for putting together Terry TV and for having me as a guest. You are amazing, and I appreciate everything about you and your heart, and that you're able to be transparent with that too. And I'm so excited for people to be able to, the gift that I'm giving is about knowing that you are exactly who your world needs. And that is my biggest passion. If people can get anything out of it, that when we shrink back, if we shrink back, our world goes without. So that's my goal, is that everyone would know that they are exactly who their world needs. And because my life has been changed by other people stepping up when I had nothing, other people stepped up and they brought an environment where I could heal. And so if they were not exactly who they were meant to be, my life would be different.
Oh, that's so powerful. I knew that I needed to ask you that question. I'm glad I asked it the second time. I want to just thank you so much for being a guest here on Terry TV and appreciate you. And just honestly, you are one of the biggest heart entrepreneurs I know. Thank you for all the service you bring to everyone.
Thank you. Thank you so much.